Greetings, everybody. I am Jeff Tetz, CEO of Results, and I am joined today by the CEO of David Aplin Group, Jeff Aplin. Jeff, great to see you.
Great to see you, Jeff. Yeah, as always.
So I'm looking forward to this conversation with you today. And I thought where we would start is now that we're hopefully coming out of the pandemic, at least I think most of us would agree, we're closer to the end than we are the start.
We better be.
What has it been like being a CEO and being a leader of a company through a pandemic?
Yeah, you know what? It's a great question. It's certainly been a challenge, and it's also been very humbling to be in that kind of situation over the past year. I think we as a team we really learned a lot about our company and ourselves because every month seemed like a totally different scenario for the past year, right?
Yeah. What are some ways you think that the pandemic has helped your organization?
One thing I would say is it really just reduces your line of sight. Like instead of thinking 3 to 5 years down the road, what's the vision, where are we going to go? You're thinking 30 days, 60 days, right? Because things are changing so fast, and it just brings into sharp focus. What do you got to do now, and what's really important for this next short run? And there's some real benefits to that, right? I think that we'll take some of those benefits forward, just focus on the next step rather than looking at the whole staircase.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. And I think that the pandemic has been challenging for all organizations in different ways, but I am hearing more and more leaders talk about ways that it's actually served them well, and some learning and some organizational strength that maybe you didn't know you had, or that you've developed that will continue to serve you once we come out of it. So it sounds like David Aplin Group is no exception to that. So Jeff, David Aplin has been around a long time.
46 years.
That's unbelievable. But as long as you've been around, I'm under no illusions that there are people in the marketplace that may not be that familiar with what David Aplin Group does. So why don't we start there? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what David Aplin does and what your specialties are?
Okay, yeah, sure, my pleasure. I mean, we're a talent acquisition firm, so we're a recruiting firm. So we help employers find people they can't find on their own to onboard onto their teams. And really, we have a deep specialization in the professional job categories. So HR, IT, engineering, and management as well.
Got it. So a real diverse suite of options there for anybody that's looking to hire great talent and bolster their team. Now, before we talk a little bit more about the types of perhaps some of the placements and some of the successes you've had in the marketplace, I wouldn't mind taking a look internally. And so a big focus of your company and your team is trying to place people in phenomenal environments to work. What's it like to work at David Aplin Group? If I was to walk the hallways of your offices across the country, what would be some of the things I might hear from employees about the David Aplin culture?
The thing that comes to mind when I have the opportunity to travel to different locations where we do business is passion. People really, if they get into our company and they stay with us and enjoy being part of our experience, they're very passionate people. They love what they do. They're passionate about people, helping clients build teams and seeing that the results from that, and seeing professionals take the next step in their career.
So then, how do you think that helps you serve the marketplace? 'Cause it sounds like a wonderful place to work. So how has that helped you achieve some of the goals that you have in the various markets you serve?
My thoughts are that if you really look after your people, then they're going to look after your customers. And I think that there's a lot of examples of that. If we're got our people's backs, and certainly the past year with the pandemic has been a revealing experience. I think that we do genuinely, sincerely care about our people and their mental health and the challenges that everyone's gone through. And then in turn, I think they have that reignites that passion for client service externally as well.
Yeah. So that segues nicely into demographics a little bit. And it sounds like you could probably help any company in the marketplace, but are there companies and industries that you're maybe set up to help even more?
Absolutely. So, I mean, the two client profiles that continually tell us that they really value what we do are private growth companies, number one. So companies that are beginning to scale, typically from about 100 employees up, and then really the enterprise type of clients. So large employers with many thousand of employees, and both of those like to partner with us. And what they tell us is consistently that there's value in efficiencies in time and productivity to get the talent that they can't find on their own onto their teams and their projects.
So, and I know from personal experience, Jeff, that your team is really helpful, and they're always open and available for a phone call, even if someone just has questions about recruiting, hiring talent, interviewing, all those processes. How would a typical business owner know, or business leader know, when it's time to make that phone call for some insight, for some advice, and perhaps to enlist your services?
You know what? If you're thinking about it, pick up the phone. By all means, check it out. We always have time to talk with people. Where our core purpose is creating value at every opportunity, and where that comes from is just leaving people better than you find them, regardless of whether you're actually going to have commercial business together, right? And actually, Jeff, on that, one of the things for your company, having been a client of yours for several years as well, is in the pandemic, you guys just started adding lots of value. You just said, what can we do to add value? And I'll give you like the leader circles that I was fortunate enough to participate in one last year. Was a huge value, and you did that just to be of service to people. So there's some connections there for sure, which is probably why we've enjoyed doing business reciprocally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can speak from personal experience that when you work with David Aplin Group, not only do they find talent quicker than you can find on your own, but they find people that you would actually never find on your own. And we have people that have become key members of our own team that we actually went about it the hard way and tried to find them ourselves for months. There's a particular team member that we have in Edmonton. We spent about 8 months trying to find that person on our own, and within 30 days, you found us not just a candidate, but a brilliant candidate. And she stayed with us through the pandemic and continues to add value. And so I know firsthand how incredible your team is.
Awesome. Happy to hear that.
So how about more on a personal note, Jeff? I mean, how many years now have you been the CEO of David Aplin Group?
Since 2011, so 10 years.
So 10 years.
10 years now, yeah.
What are some things or maybe a poignant moment that stands out that makes you most proud of your leadership in that time?
I will say this past year, when things got really tough in the spring of 2020, I was just so proud of our team. We came up with a kind of a game plan to how we were going to get through it, and there was a lot of risk to that. But we said let's go for this, and we think it'll serve us well in the long run, not in the short or medium term. And so far that's been the case. And I'm just really proud of the way we wrapped our arms around our people. Like I said, looked after mental health issues, supported them in transition to work from home and flexibility with their families, and things that were more on a human level, just to look after them as people. And just really, really proud of all of our people leaders for that.
Yeah, I feel that comes through a lot. And you mentioned at the start of the discussion today, David Aplin Group has been around for 46 years. And I think it's implied, but I think it's worth stating that your father started the company. He's the founder.
I started when I was 4.
Yeah.
No, I was a prodigy.
Yeah, that's right.
My dad started it in the house I grew up in Edmonton in 1975. And here we are 46 years later. So that's something else, is just the longevity. Like somebody else was saying, it's in business, every year you got to make the playoffs, or else you're not playing next year, right? You gotta figure it out. And to make the playoffs basically in business 46 years in a row, that's a long time. That's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, for sure.
Yeah, it is. And what does it mean to you to be leading the company that your father started?
Working with family is it's one of the best gifts, and it can also certainly be a frustrating experience too. But I've always had a great relationship with my dad, still do, and it just makes it that much more special. Like knowing the history of it, growing up around it. Even my dad was one of my heroes. Growing up and seeing him come down the steps after a day when I was it was this tall and with his briefcase and in the 80s or whatever, and thinking like, what's he doing and what did he do? And then we talk about it at dinner, and so just growing up around it, I think it does, like any family business or intergenerational enterprise, you have I think just a little more commitment, perhaps, and a little more skin in the game, and just a little more passion for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Jeff, where can people find your team? How do they get a hold of you?
Find us online, aplin.com, aplin.com. Best way to find us.
All right, and you've got offices all across the country.
Yeah, we're headquartered in Alberta, but offices nationally across Canada, Halifax through to Vancouver.
Awesome. Pleasure to speak with Jeff Aplin today. And if you're looking for talent and you want to save time and find talent you cannot find, don't hesitate. Reach out to their team for a phone call. You won't be disappointed that you did. Thanks, everybody.